Hi guys, this is going to be a quick tip on coding. And I saw this short recently that had code like this that was saying this is the wrong way to do things. And the brief explanation of how it works is you're assuming to have these things defined earlier. So you're saying if we have Wi-Fi, then do all of this, and otherwise show this message to the user. However you want to do it. I put it in the log bot, in the console log, but it might be some other way. And then similarly, inside of that, just look for login. And if you have login, then you do this. If you don't, then it shows this message. And admin, if you have admin, after you also have those other two, it will show you the admin panel. So it's kind of a logical and here, right? But they want to have these extra console logs built into it. And they only want to see the admin panel if all of these are true. That's great, but then what you end up seeing is like this, where these kind of get longer and longer over time, and you get more and more of these, like that, you know, nested inside of each other, and it just becomes really hard to read, right? This would be all the way over here. Yeah, so it starts to look a lot like a big old arrow and you can't tell what's going on. So instead of all of that, take this back to where it was. Even this is a little bit much. So let's look at what they said to do. And it is a little bit better because now you've got the Wi-Fi with its message. And what they're doing here is saying instead of testing if this is true, test if this is false with this not symbol. And then if you don't have Wi-Fi, then it shows the message. And it returns. So we're assuming this is inside of a function at this point, you know, and then returning out of the function will prevent the rest of this code from executing. So this is okay. It does work, but there's some issues with it. First of all, we have these like variables that we're checking if they're false now. But what if it's not false? What if it's just something that we don't want it to be? So you might have to like fix the variable before you even do this. But if we're checking if it's true, that's actually technically a little bit different than checking if it's false. So this could actually cause the admin panel to show up in weird situations that you didn't expect. So you don't actually want to do it this way for that reason. And lastly, the other reason would be that we're just duplicating all of this over and over again. We really don't want to do that if we can avoid it. Actually, there's a missing bracket. There we go. So how do we solve both of those problems and the initial problem? What I had here is kind of my solution, and I think this is the best way to go. So what we've done is create a function that's just to check a variable or a value, and if it's not true, if that value is not true, it doesn't evaluate to true, then you return. Or if it is true, then you return true. So it's the opposite of up here where we're checking if it's false. We're making sure it's true. If it's not true, then it continues into the function and logs the message that we passed in. So you can see here we're checking Wi-Fi and we're saying here's the message if it's false. And that returns a true or nothing, which would be a false. And then we're using just AND logical right there to combine these three calls together into one condition for this if statement. And you know, you can put the brackets in if you want, but if you're just putting one thing inside it for this if statement, you don't need the brackets. So I just leave them out. Optional. And then yeah, so if all of these are true, then it will do this. If any of these are false, it will show the associated message. And this check value and show message function is really useful across the board. You can use this all over your code and it will help you out in all of these situations where it's a value that you want to test and a message that you want to show to the user. And that's one of the things that is often the most annoying to do as a programmer is to make sure that there's messages for every situation that the user could run into, and this makes it a little bit easier. So I wanted to show it off. Thanks, guys. Hope that helps you out. Talk to you later.